Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Ritchie Thomas, the Soldier's Coach, coming to you with today's episode. These are my top 10 steps of what I would do if I was transitioning out of the military today. Let's get right to it. Roll it.
That's good.
Boom. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. Obviously, we're in the middle of COVID-19, zombie virus, whatever you like to call it. But the reality is, I think about between 700 and 1,200 military servicemen and women are transitioning out of the military every single day. Multiply that times 365. That's a lot of folks that need help. So I was thinking about what went right, what went wrong when I got out of the military back in 2007 and what I would do differently. So here's a few things I would do. Let's kind of jump right in. I think my first thing on the list, actually, let me pause right there. So I got out in 2007 when I was stationed down in Homestead, Florida, Homestead Air Reserve Base, and I decided to move to Atlanta. My wife and I, Atlanta was kind of like a second home. So I kind of knew right away what I wanted to jump into. So the first thing I would say is, which city, not even city, but what country would you like to live in? You know, military transition is a very scary time because so much is unknown, which is cool, which is also horrifying because it's kind of like military is real great at telling us what to do and who, what, where, when, and how. But we never really had to think too much about ahead because it was always kind of telling us, somebody was always telling us what to do, right? Giving us orders and we follow orders. So the transition piece is kind of like the first thing is like, where do you even want to live? Because most people will go, I'm gonna go follow the job. So I'm gonna apply to 100 jobs and the first one that calls me back within halfway of what I'm looking for from a salary standpoint, that's where I'm gonna go live. What if you're miserable there? I mean, the job's cool, but like if you want to take a job in the middle of Smallville, USA, like, are you going to be happy just because you got a 6-figure government contract? So from that aspect, I really want you to take the time to think about where you actually want to live, because most people don't. They apply for the job, they chase the pension, they chase the paycheck, and we end up pursuing finances over fulfillment. Some of which I get, like we got to pay the rent or the mortgage. But if you're not happy, is it a win? So I think the first thing I would like to kind of do is open up the map. You don't have to live, where you were stationed at. You don't have to go back home. I think there's over 220 countries on the planet. Spin the globe. I mean, could you go to a year in Ireland? Could you live in Africa for a year? Could you live in South America for a year? I really want you to think about what would actually make you happy. Because I don't think we ever take the time to kind of pause and say, hey, I'm resetting my life here. So why not go live in Hawaii for a couple years? I get the price perspective, but I really want you to think about what would be a good fit for you personality-wise, mental health, and of course, if you're married or have kids, obviously family is a big thing there, but man, this is a perfect time for you to kind of pause and reflect. What would make me happy? That's a great question. So really putting some time and effort in which, it's not even city, but which country you would like to live in now more than ever, right? So that's probably my biggest one, is really narrowing it down. A lot of that is job market, how it's going to impact my spouse if you're married, and school systems obviously as well. But COVID, everybody's remote. So let's do that school thing online and let's go live in Tahiti for a year. That's just me, right? So that first one is really narrowing down where I want to live. The second thing is establishing a business or an LLC more than anything. I fully believe that anybody in the military today, whether you were in there for 30 days, 30 weeks, 30 months, or 30 years, should have a business in your name before you get out. Even if you've already been out, if you're a vet who's been out 10 years, I think everybody should have a business in their name. And here's why. Because we end up applying for jobs and we always wait for somebody to hire us back, right? So we'll send out 100 resumes and we wait for 100 people to call us back. What if they never call you back? And it's like we're trained for the combat battlefield. We were never trained for the economic battlefield. And what I mean is, you have the ability to hire yourself. right? You have a gift, you have knowledge, skills, and abilities. Like, you can flip whatever you're trying to get somebody to pay you to go do. Like, instead of applying for the dream job, you can just create the dream job. But we were never told how to do that. So I think my biggest mistake looking back, I was like, damn, I'm in IT. I've been in IT for 10, 12 years now. I'm like, why did I never start an IT business? Well, no one told me to, because I was given no final marching orders. So establishing an LLC is definitely probably I want to say all 10 steps. You know, just like get your business, get your business, get your business. Why? Because I want to be greedy? No, because recessions are a real thing and they happen statistically every 8 to 10 years. So COVID's rough. We already went through that in 2007. Actually got out in the middle of a COVID type situation. It was a nightmare. Of course, minus the medical, pandemic, by all means. But from a recession standpoint, it was horrible. But the biggest lesson I learned was I kept waiting on somebody to hire me, and no one ever told me like, yo, you could hire yourself. I didn't realize YouTube was a business. I didn't understand that the internet in and of itself is a business. I can create a business. I mean, Amazon, good God, like everybody in the military should have an Amazon store before you get out, right? So that's be my first, second, and third is be the LLC, and I say LLC too. And, of course, I would highly recommend you talking to a tax accountant, finance professional to figure out which type of business, from a tax purpose, for tax purposes, right? But it depends on the type of business you're going to create. But I say to have the business in your name because the best way for somebody like to change someone's perspective and change someone's vision, the best way to do that is to change your elevation. So if the business was named after you, it'd be a little bit of a pride thing, right? You like, yo, I'm the CEO of me, LLC, right? It's different than I work for Google, I work for Facebook, I work for Twitter, versus I'm the CEO of me, LLC, and I partner with Twitter, I partner with YouTube, right? So having that LLC, I think it's a huge, huge step. I guess I could sum it up in 3 ways. I would say monetize your genius. Take your intellectual property and put it online. I know a lot of businesses were shut down due to COVID. You know who wasn't impacted? You know who doesn't close? You know who doesn't get the Rona? The internet. It's open 24/7, 365, all 7 continents. Internet's everywhere. So take your business, take your intellectual property, monetize your gifts, put it on the internet. Right? If you look at most of the billionaires nowadays, most of them are in tech. Well, I won't say most, but the majority of the new ones, let me just say that, are in tech, right? So take your business, put it online, because that's where everybody is. All right, so the third thing I would do is, it's probably, I think they're all equally important, so it's hard to put them in order. But the reality is I would take my VA home loan and I would try to secure I would secure a home loan for a multi-unit property. What is that multi-unit? A duplex, a triplex, even a quadplex. Let's go to the board here. So let me show you guys what I would do. This is this is an apartment unit. I love Zillow. It's my favorite website in the world. Why Zillow? Let's just jump right in. So Zillow is awesome because, Facebook, Twitter, they are what they are. Social media is for play. It's for entertainment. What I love about Zillow is business, right? So what you could do, so this is a 4-unit, which known as a quadplex in Illinois. We probably won't show the address here, but if it does, we'll roll with it. It's for $119,000, right? So each unit, I believe, is 2-bedroom, 1 bath. But let's take a look at some of the pictures here. It's an entire building that can be bought out. So theoretically, what you could do is before you get out of the military, you could live in 1 unit, and then you could rent out 1, 2, and 3. Say that again. You could live in 1, and then you could rent out this one, and this one. And you can, this don't have to be this one obviously, but I would try to find something similar to this in whatever city or state you plan to go to. Now some of you are going to say, well, I want to go live in Hawaii. Could I do this in Hawaii? I mean, financially, the housing market is what it is, but here's the cheat code. You'd only have to live here for like a year. I think that's what the rule says for the VA home loan. So after 12, 13 months, you move out And the cool part, what I love, is you could collect rent from the other 3 units after you decided to leave. But again, this is important because the number one issue in the veteran community is unemployment. So if you lived in one and collected rent in the others, that would be amazing. Let's take a look at the numbers. So this house, for example, was $119,000. I purposely went a little bit lower. I know the average house might be like $200,000 across America, but I'm just using this one just for example. So the mortgage on this one is $482 a month, which breaks down to $5,700 a year. There's a lot of things you got to take into play, right? So vacancy. Will people move out? Yes. She used to save up a little bit every month for when they do, so you can still pay the mortgage, right? This is what you borrowed from the bank. You have to pay somebody to fix it if and when you leave, right? And even if you did leave, I don't fix toilets, so I'm gonna have somebody who's a professional to manage the property on my behalf. We have to save for taxes, obviously. Uncle Sam's always gonna get his cut. I don't care how much you make. We have to save up for insurance for somebody burns the building down, and of course maintenance and just general other costs. So, but I think I left out the most important piece. The income on this was $2,500. So if we look back at the write-up here, this one says that on or around each unit was bringing in $650 a month. I think $550 was right about the average. So all 4 of these rent out for $550. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is amazing. So a monthly income $2,500, which brings in $30,000 a year. So after you pay all these bills monthly, you would take home $1,300 a month. That's pretty nice, especially if you're in a situation where you're unemployed. So if you didn't need this money, it'd be awesome because you'd be banking in about 16, right? A year, which is awesome because you could double down in next year or the 3rd year or 4th year, you could buy another building, right? To ultimately retire off of rental properties. So the cash flow here is crazy. So if I was getting out, this is definitely something that I would take into consideration. The mortgage payments over 20 years, $115,000, but collectively after 20 years, total rent income $689. You'd be pocketing this bad boy right here. All right. So again, I tell everybody before they get out of the military, I think you should all, have your own business. But I also think you should have a building. So you should own a business and a building before you exit. You saw those numbers. I mean, $480 a month is nothing, especially when most people riding around with some damn Ford Mustang and them damn Dodge Chargers. I don't even understand it. Every time I see a Mustang, I just want to flip it over, right? So buy a building before you buy a car. That would be number 1, 2, and 3 on the list. All right. So use your VA home loan to buy a multi-unit. The next thing I would do is really take a look at using my security clearance. So when I was what's known as I was in the Army, by the way. I don't know if I said that just thus far, and I was in for 6 years. But I had a top secret security clearance, TSSCI. USAjobs.gov at the time when I got out in 2007. It was on and robust, but of course it's 100 times more now. So, I mean, if you have that security clearance, we all know, we heard it 1,000 times. It's a lot of money. So the fact that you have it, I would try to utilize it. Bonus point here though, doesn't mean you're going to be happy if someone pays you 6 figures to go work at X government defense contract fund, making 6 figures. So your salary does not exactly equate to your level of success. So I'll just say that. But I think it would be a great way to utilize your income for rentals, or to fund your passion, or to fund your purpose or your other business, from that aspect. So the salary can be used for any other areas. So definitely use that. The next one is eliminating debt. Good God. So before I get out, I would really try to make sure, just again, this is of course the ultimate Monday morning quarterback here, but I would really look at all of my debt, car note, credit card, this, that, and the other, and see what I can get down to zero. Because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You can't force somebody to hire you. You can't force somebody to shop at your business. You can't force people to move into, your building if you go the rental property route. But having as little bills as possible is huge, right? So zero credit card debt. I don't care how much you want it, because right now we need to know that our kids can eat tomorrow. So I think in a lot of the stress that comes with the financial aspect would be gone if we could just eliminate a lot of the unnecessary spending. So I know that one's harder. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. I would probably do that 2 or 3 years before I got out as well. So something to consider. The next thing I would do is these are all from my mistakes, so giving you all the good stuff, is utilize my military network. I put an emphasis on the military piece, but to be honest with you, I would utilize my network overall. I tried to do everything by myself, and I would never ever ask for help, which was a nightmare, because you can't do everything. If you take a look at like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, even now with LeBron James, their whole careers, like whenever they won, they're always surrounded by other Hall of Famers. You can't win a championship by yourself, right? You need a Hall of Fame coach, you need Hall of Fame teammates. You're gonna have to really lean into your Hall of Fame network, which is the military, right? People you work with, people who helped you, your mentors and coaches. I would really, really lean on them for your job leads and perspectives, right? Because you can't do everything solo. So you never know who. It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? So if they know, hey, you're starting a business, if they know you're into rental properties, if they know you're getting ready to get out and looking, that military network is huge. And a lot of times we're taught to soldier on, fight on. I'm a soldier, so I don't need to ask for help, which is a huge mistake. You need to ask for help because you were a soldier. You were never trained to be a business professional. So there's so many things about business that we weren't taught. Which, going back to my first or second point about the LLC, I think it's imperative for you to understand business, not just, hey, hire me. So utilizing my network, you are not weak because you are asking for help. This next step I would do is hire a professional resume writer. If you are not a writer, if you are not an HR professional, you have no business writing your own resume. Say that again. If you're not a full-time writer, if you're not a full-time HR, manager, director, right? You have no business writing your own resume. And we can let me just say it like this. Here's a good test. If your resume sucks, apply for 10 jobs, make it 20 that you want, that are really, really resonate with you. I don't care where they are in the world, right? South Korea, Japan, you can go to, I don't care, go to Kenya, whatever. Apply to as many jobs as you can. If most of them do not give you a call back or email that contact you back, it's a big red flag that your resume is trash. So I would take that point to, I say that to say, it's a great point to hire a professional resume writer. It might be a couple hundred. I would find the best one on the internet and I would hire them. And people go, well, I don't have the money to hire a resume writer. You can't afford not to, because you don't know how many thousands of dollars you are losing because you didn't, you don't know the language of business. You don't know the language of a CEO or a hiring manager. Like, you have to have an agent to sell you to the marketplace. That was good, right? And on the flip side, on this kind of a bonus point, your resume should be on LinkedIn. So I would turn around and not only hire a resume writer, but I'll hire a professional LinkedIn writer to sell you to the marketplace, because we see ourselves and we brand ourselves and we sell ourselves to the marketplace as soldiers. And soldiers don't get hired, business professionals do. But if you don't know the language of business, they're not going to hire you. So hire a professional resume writer. That's an order. The next one, I would be applying for jobs. I don't care if you're getting out in 2 years, 5 years, if you just re-enlisted for 10. I would start applying for jobs today, at least 18 months before I get out, because I want the experience of the interviewing. I want the feedback on my resume. I want the feedback of a phone interview, face-to-face, how to dress. Civilians are very weird. They don't like when you grunt at them. Well, we don't do that in the civilian world, right? But I would start applying immediately, just because of the experience. I love to interview, right? Again, before, during, and after. From 10 years ago, I always loved it because I love the repetition. I loved what worked, what didn't. Certain language, certain businesses, or it's different cultures at a large business versus small business. So I would have started applying immediately, just to do that. Again, for clarity, for feedback, and again, just the interview experience helps you see where you need improvements and those type of things. So again, the big rule of thumb is if you apply for 10 and 5 call you back, you're doing pretty good. If you apply for 20 and 5 call you back, I need to make some areas of improvement there, right? The next one is ensuring your spouse, if you're married, or family member, even if you have kids. I would say if I got teenagers, 16, 18, I encourage them to have a business as well. But ensuring that your spouse has solid job leads or preferences, right? I would actually even say, I would consider a spouse to have a job online, because as you move around in different bases and whatnot, the internet stays the same. So if they had a business or a job that was fully remote, it makes life a lot easier when you guys move, right? But ensuring that they're good, it's a partnership, obviously. You want to take into consideration their career, not just yours. They may or may not have taken a back seat because of the, life in the military is what it is with deployments and whatnot. But ensuring that they're good. Like, hey, if the job outsourced in San Francisco is great for you, but not for them, it's a 50-50. So those type of things, or is the job outlook better in Dallas for them versus Miami, or Illinois versus Ohio, those type of things. But it's really taking into consideration not only the spouses, but obviously the kids. School systems are big. I live in Atlanta. Quite frankly, school systems are they're not great. And then, unfortunately, everybody I know, their kids are either in private school or on a waiting list to get into private school, and they're not free. Hence the rental property steps or establishing your own business, right? Multiple streams of income is what I'm trying to hit at. But making sure that your spouse is good is definitely on the list, as well as the kids. So again, and I'm a big thing for having them establish a business online, because it goes where they go. And the last step here is franchise opportunity. So it was real interesting. About 5 years ago, I'm big on LinkedIn, and this recruiter hit me up and they said, "Hey, we want you. What do you think about doing a franchise?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm not into fast food." He was like, "No, moron, not just food. There's other opportunities, dry cleaning, things like that. Just things you've never thought of." But looking into a franchise is something I would really consider. And they love military, strictly because of the discipline, the background, the structure that we're used to. A business is, it's a repeatable process that makes money. And we're in the military, we're very, very structured. A lot of franchises are very structured with whatever their plan is, right? So they want you to follow their agenda to a T. If I was going to start a business, why not do a business from someone that's already been successful at it? So I think that's a big thing there, is looking at franchise opportunities. Great companies like 2020 Franchise Consulting is huge. Just one of them I talked to, they're like a franchise consultant. They take your skill set, your personality, and see which lane you would be most successful in. I love Smoothie King, don't judge me, but I've thought about buying or investing into a Smoothie King, right, or a dry cleaner, something like that. Again, to establish multiple streams of income. I can still have the 9 to 5, but if I invest somewhere else, never have enough money in this country, right? It's not a greed thing, it's a survive thing. And the last thing I would do, just kind of a bonus tip here, I would take multiple business classes to ensure I understand business. I don't give a damn if it's at a community college, YouTube videos, online somewhere. But the one thing, probably the biggest mistake I made was not establishing myself as a business professional. I established myself as a veteran, as a soldier. And soldiers don't get hired, business professionals do. So I would take as many business classes as I could before I got out, before I wouldn't get out. Because you can never learn enough. And anything and everything in America is a business. If it's a building, it's a business. right? Every building you've ever walked to is owned by someone. So there's a bottom line you have to worry about. You have to impact it. Do you help that business make money, or save time, right? So taking business classes to really kind of jump in and look from a soldier's mindset to a business professional's mindset is everything. I don't give a damn what your grade is. I don't care if you fail. I just want you in those classes to help you mentally transition, because that's the biggest thing we don't do. We physically transition out of the military, right? We leave the base and we go to wherever. We never mentally transition out. So we stuck seeing ourselves, and we sell ourselves, and we brand ourselves to the marketplace as soldiers. And soldiers don't get hired. Business professionals do, right? So that's my top 10 list of what I would do if I was getting out of the military today. I've made a lot of mistakes. I want you guys to learn from them. So if I can decompress decades into days, please learn from my mistakes. All right, so that is my time, y'all. I'm Ritchie Thomas, the Soldier's Coach. Keep pushing, but more importantly, keep growing. Thank you, man. All right, peace.
That's good.